Hey y'all, and welcome back to All in the Cheese. Woo woo. My name is Jasmine and I'm so thankful that you clicked on this video and you are here with me today. We are talking all about how I maintain my micro locks, and yes, I actually have clips of me retightening my hair so you can see how I actually retighten my hair. My micro locks are a little over 8 months old. I put them in July of last year. I have about 509 locks, I think. I can't remember the exact count, but I know it's a little bit over 500 locks. It takes me anywhere between, I would say, 15 to 17 hours to retighten my hair. This last session took me about 16 hours. I didn't really keep up with it, but I know it was about 4 days total, and it worked on my hair for like 4 to 6 hours on those days. So I would say it ended up being about a little over 16 hours that it took me to retighten my hair. I retighten my hair about every 7 to 8 weeks, but I may actually stretch that out a little longer. I may just start to retighten my edges maybe every 6 to 7 weeks, and then the rest of my hair a little later, because my edges need to be retightened a little more often, but not so much the rest of my hair. So we'll see. So the tools that I use when I have to retighten my hair is, the first thing is a spray bottle. This is empty because my children sprayed water all over my mirror today, but a spray bottle filled with water, because when you're going through and you're retightening your hair, you may have locks that are starting to merge together a little bit, and it's easier to separate them and better to separate them when your hair is wet. If you do it when your hair is dry, you may risk popping like the ends of your hair, which is not good. You don't want to pop like your locks apart. If you can like pull the hair out of the lock, that's a lot better, but popping the locks apart, you do not want to do that. You create split ends, it damages your hair. So don't pop them out, but if you can wet your hair and like try to get some of that hair separated, that works great. Next thing that I use is a mirror, some type of comb with a metal end like this, because I feel like this gets your parts the most precise. It is sharp on the ends. It can really get those like 1 or 2 pieces of hair that are stuck in between the locks. So I highly recommend something like this. And you also, if you're like me and you want to keep your curly ends, you also want a fine tooth comb, because you want to be able to like kind of comb out any knots or things that may be forming in your hair. You need scissors, because if you have locks that are merging together, and if it's to the point to where the hair that's inside the lock is like really stuck and jammed, you don't want to disrupt the structure of the lock. You're going to want to cut them apart. You're not going to want to try to pull them apart. I haven't had that happen yet, but I keep my scissors on deck, and I also keep them because I do trim my ends. I treat the hair at the ends of my hair that's curly like I would my loose natural hair for the most part. I don't add product and stuff, but if I feel single strand knots or split ends or I see any of that, I clip them to make sure that my curls stay healthy and curly. Then we have clips. Oops. These are like the what are these? Like lock clips. That's what people use when they're like retwisting locks. Oh my gosh. So I use these clips because they hold my small locks like the best. I don't like using big clips, because then it's like sometimes the clip is going through like some of the other locks and it's very uncomfortable. So I like to use these small clips because they just clip the locks that I'm trying to keep out of the way. Last but not least, you're going to need some type of interlocking tool. I use this one. It's just easier for me to take the lock through the hair in the back, and it just glides through easily. I love this. I could never use like the crochet needle. I'm not even good with those outside of using locks. I always snag my hair, so there's no way I would use those on my locks. I've seen the like smaller lock tools that are kind of, they're straight but kind of rounded. I want to get one of those because I feel like it would be easier when it gets to those last 2 rotations of my hair. This one, when I get to like the last 2 rotations that I have to do, it's uncomfortable to take it through. It really is, because it's so big down here on the end. So yeah, I may get another tool that's a little smaller just to finish the last 2 rotations, but up until then, like, this has been working great. When interlocking your hair, this is how it goes for me. I use what's considered the 3-point rotation. That means there are 3 points in my lock that I am taking the interlocking tool through. We're gonna use my finger. Let's say this is the lock that I'm looking at. So for the 3-point rotation, this is what I do. I take the interlocking tool, depending on where I left off, so you never want to go through the same hole twice. So if you ended your last interlocking session taking your interlocking tool down, you want to make sure you start going side to side. That makes sense. So if this is a lock, we can say we're looking at the back of my head. I always end down. Every time I do all of my locks, I always end down. When I start, I'm going to go this way first. 1, then I'm going to go down. 2, then I'm going to go this way. 3. So that is the 3-point rotation. 4-point would be you would then take it through the bottom up, and you would keep doing that. So this way side to side, down, and then this way side to side, down. That is how I do every lock in my head. Boop, down, boop, down, boop, down, boop, down. That is the rotation that I do. It just seems to form a better lock for me. The last rotation that you do when you're interlocking your hair is the direction that your hair will lay. I always end down when it comes to my locks. So what I mean is, here on the top, I end my last rotation going down this way and down this way. Now granted, if you see me most of the time, my hair is going to be flipped over like this. That's just because I like the look. I'm a side part girly for the most part. Sometimes I like my middle part, but I don't end my rotation with my hair going this way because it would make it flat. It would make it really, really flat. So I end it, I end it this way, so my hair parts like this, and it'll stay like this for like a week or so. But as my locks kind of loosen up at the roots, it just gives it so much volume when I flip it over. So that's why I end my rotation that way, where my hair is parted right down the middle like that. I like the way it looks over time. The last thing that you're going to see me do in the video is I'm going to be spritzing water on the ends of my hair and combing through them. That's because I love my loose natural hair so much. And I enjoy seeing it even with my hair being locked. So that's what I do. That's what I like. So you're going to see me spritzing water on the ends of my hair. I'm going to be combing through it, up to a certain point, not messing with the structure part of my hair that is locked, so I don't, disrupt that, but only basically where the twisted part of my hair still is. I'm going to be combing through that, spritzing it with water, twisting it back down a little bit, and then swirling the ends just so I keep my curls. Let's get into the actual tutorial part of this video so you guys can see how I am interlocking my hair.
Okay, y'all, so the first thing you're going to do is take your hair through the hole on your interlocking tool. Sorry that the lighting is bad right now. It will adjust. You want to make sure that there is no hair from another lock going into the lock you're currently working on. Like I said before, I do the 3-point rotation. So you're going to take your hair through the side of your lock first. Then I'm going to go down. And then I'm going to go the opposite direction, side to side. And I'm just going to continue to do that throughout the remainder of this lock. You will see after I do almost every rotation that I'm feeling for the lock, making sure that I haven't gone through the lock next to it. I have my finger in the way to make sure that my interlocking tool doesn't go into the lock next to it. I'm going to be pulling hairs out that may be trying to get caught up into the lock. All of those things are very important and very helpful when it comes to interlocking your hair. Okay, so in this next clip, you're going to see me do this thing called locksmithing. Essentially, it is rolling all of the frizzy parts of my lock together so it looks more defined and no hair is sticking out. I'm still working on this method and teaching myself how to do it, but I love the results that I'm getting so far. Now I am going to take this end of my hair that has lost its curl, is starting to tangle a little bit. I'm going to spritz water on it. I'm going to comb it out, twist it back down a little bit, and then twirl the ends around my finger so I get that curl pop at the end of my lock. Like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, I make sure to cut off any split ends, any single strand knots at the end of my hair. That also helps the curl to pop a lot. And that's really all I do when it comes to interlocking my hair. The rest of the video I'm going to speed up, but I'm going to show you how I do a few more locks. Okay, so here I'm just making sure that I start my lock going side to side and not down because that's how I enter my lock and I don't want to create a hole. The one thing that I forgot to mention in the last clip is you want to make sure that when you go through the base of your lock that you put your interlocking tool all the way to where you feel the most tension in your lock. That way you don't get any gaps in spaces. So you'll see me kind of double pull on my lock with the interlocking tool. That's just me making sure that I have pushed down on the lock as much as I can before I bring my lock all the way through.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes for me when I interlock my hair. I do that 500 plus times. Kind of sounds crazy when you say it like that, but that's how I interlock my hair, and it works for me, and my locks feel solid. They feel strong. I don't feel like I have any weak points in my locks, at least not yet. Tips that I would have for interlocking your hair. The first thing is to know your head. Know how often you would need to interlock, and that's just going to be a gauge. I know that my hair in the front is of a looser texture, so sometimes my locks come apart a lot from pulling and things like that. The tension that is created, I think that plays a part in how often your hair needs to retie. My locks in the back, as you guys have seen, they're like, they look like locks, you know? And I just think because the texture in the back of my hair is super curly compared to the front. So know your hair, pay attention to it, and then you'll be able to gauge how often you need to re-tighten your hair. With locks, I've heard that it's a balancing act. You don't want to go too long without re-tightening your hair. You don't want to do it too often. So do what you will with that information. I know I'm not going past 8 weeks. That's what I try to stick to. Do not go past 8 weeks when it comes to re-tightening your hair. And the last tip that I would have to give is when you start your locks, if you are deciding to do this yourself, you're not gonna go to a professional, you're not gonna go to a loctician, you're gonna do this at home. The one thing that I can say is to make sure that your parts are as defined as possible. I'm not saying make this whole fancy grid. If you can, even better. But if you can't, just make sure that when you're looking at the twist or braid or whatever that you're making, that when you look at the base of that, it's like, okay, this is a defined separate part from the hair that's around it. That is all I really have for this video in this micro lock retightening session. Thank you so much for sitting with me through this. If you have any questions, please place them down in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I really hope this is helpful. I feel like I talked a lot. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me. Bye.